Hello, welcome to the next session on computer graphics and visualization. In this particular video session, we'll be discussing what do you mean by graphics workstation, the different kind of input devices that we can use with these graphic systems or the graphic workstations. So we'll also be discussing what do you mean by graphics networks, types of graphics software, the coordinate representations, and the types of graphics functions, along with the different software standards that can be used. Okay, so let us begin this session by just understanding what do you mean by graphics workstations. So most graphics monitors today operate as raster scan displays, and both CRT and flat panel systems are common in use. As we know, we either use the flat panel systems and rarely sometimes also CRTs. Graphic workstations range from small purpose computer systems to multi-monitor facilities, often with ultra-large viewing screens. High-definition graphic systems with resolutions up to 2560 by 2048 are commonly used in medical imaging, air traffic control, simulation, and CAD. Multi-panel display screens are used in a variety of applications that require wall-sized viewing areas. These systems are designed for presenting graphics displays at meetings, conferences, conventions, trade shows, retail stores, etc. A multi-panel display can be used to show a large view of a single scene or several individual images. Each panel in the system displays one section of the overall picture. A large curved screen system can be useful for viewing by a group of people studying a particular graphics application. A 360-degree panel viewing system in the NASA Control Tower Simulator, which is used for training and for testing ways to solve air traffic and runway problems at airports. So graphic workstations, they range from small general purpose computer systems to multi-monitor facilities, often with ultra large viewing screens. Now let us see what are the different input devices. Graphics workstations may make use of various types of input devices. Okay, so various devices which are used for data input. So most systems have keyboards and mouses, while some other systems have trackball, spaceball, joystick, button boxes, touch panels, image scanners, and voice systems. So here we have a list of the input devices. Let us start from the keyboard. As we all know, keyboard on the graphic system is used for entering text strings, issuing certain commands, and selecting menu options. So we can enter text, we can issue certain commands, as well as we can select menu options using the keyboard. Keyboards can also be provided with features for entry of screen coordinates, menu selections, or graphic functions. General purpose keyboard use function keys and cursor control keys. Function keys allow user to select frequently accessed operation with a single keystroke. Cursor control keys are used for selecting a displayed object or a location by positioning the screen cursor. That is about the keyboard. The next type of input device that we have is the button boxes and the dials. Buttons are often used to input predefined functions. So dials are common devices for entering scalar values. Numerical values within some defined range are selected for input with dial rotation. Okay, so we have seen multiple dials. So if you have used CROs in some of the digital analog digital labs, as you can see, it is provided with lots of dials which you can turn in order to modify the values. Something similar to that, we have the button boxes and dials. So buttons are often used to input predefined functions, whereas the dials are the common devices for entering the scalar values. Next type of devices that we have is the mouse devices. Mouse is a handheld device usually moved around on a flat surface to position the screen cursor. So wheeler or the rulers on the bottom of the mouse is used to record the amount and the direction of movement. Most of the mouses in fact nowadays use optical sensors which detect the movement across the horizontal and vertical grid lines. Since the mouse can be picked up and put down, It is used for making relative changes in the position in the screen. Most general purpose graphic system now include a mouse and a keyboard as the primary input device. We all know how to use a mouse and the keyboard. It's used to move the cursor, it's used to select certain objects on the screen, and the movement of the mouse in vertical and horizontal direction will be tracked. Right, that is about the mouse devices. Then we have something called as the trackballs and the space balls. A trackball is a ball device that can be rotated with the fingers or the palm of the hand to produce screen cursor movement. You can call it as an inverted mouse. Okay, instead of moving the mouse, we just rotate the ball, the trackball, with the fingers or the palm of the hand, and the cursor is going to move on the screen. Laptop keyboards are equipped with the trackball to eliminate extra space provided by a mouse. Some laptops comes with built-in trackballs. A spaceball is an extension of a 2D trackball concept. Spaceballs are used for 3D positioning and selection operations in virtual reality systems, modeling, animation, CAD, and other applications. So that is the trackball and the spaceball. The trackball is a device that can be rotated with the fingers or the palm of the hand to produce the screen cursor movement. Then for 3D positioning and selection operations in virtual reality environments, we can use something called as a spaceball. The next type of input device we have is the joystick. Joystick is used as a positioning device which uses a small vertical lever or a stick mounted on a base. It is used to steer the screen cursor around and select screen position with a stick movement. We have a stick which we can move in order to control the screen cursor and select screen position. A push or pull on the stick is measured with the strain gauges and converted to the movement of the screen cursor in the direction of the applied pressure. So many of us may have used this joystick for playing some games, right? It's basically having a vertical lever mounted on a base, which is used to steer the screen cursor around and select screen position with a stick movement. A push or a pull on the stick is measured with the strain gauges and the corresponding movement is translated into the movement of the screen cursor in the direction of the applied pressure. That is about the joysticks. The next type of input device that we have is called as the data gloves. Data gloves can be used to grasp a virtual object. The glove is constructed with a series of sensors that detect the hand and the finger motions. Input from the glove is used to measure, or input from the glove it's used to position or manipulate the objects in a virtual scene. So it's a glove that can be worn on the hand, which is consisting of multiple series of sensors which can detect the hand and finger motions, which can be used to grasp a virtual object in a virtual scene. It can also be used to manipulate the objects in a virtual scene. That is about the data gloves. The next type of input device we have is something called as a digitizer. A digitizer is a common device for drawing, painting, or selecting positions. Graphics tablet is one type of digitizer which is used to input 2D coordinates by activating a hand cursor or stylus at selected positions on a flat surface. So one type of digitizer, one example for digitizer is a graphics tablet, which is used to input 2D coordinates by activating the hand cursor or stylus at selected positions on a flat surface. A hand cursor contains crosshair for sighting positions, and a stylus is a pencil-shaped device that's pointed at positions on the tablet. So we can use these digitizers for drawing, painting, or selecting the different positions on the screens. That is one more type of input device. It is called as a digitizer. The next type of input device that we will be discussing is the image scanners. So drawing graphs, photographs, or other drawings or text can be stored for the computer processing with an image scanner by passing an optical scanning mechanism over the information to be stored. Once we have the representation of the picture, then we can apply various image processing methods to modify the representation of the picture, and various editing options can be performed on the stored documents. The drawings, drafts, photographs, or text can be stored for computer processing with an image scanner by passing an optical scanning mechanism over the information to be stored. Once we have the representation of the picture, then we can apply various image processing methods to modify the representation of the picture and various editing operations can be performed on the stored documents. That is about the image scanners. The next type of input device we have is something called as the touch panels. Touch panels allow displayed objects or screen coordinates to be selected with the touch of a finger. Touch panel is used for selection of processing options that are represented as menu or graphical icons. Optical touch panel uses LEDs along one vertical and horizontal edge of the frame. Acoustical touch panels generates high frequency sound waves in horizontal and vertical directions across a glass plate. The touch panels are one more type of input device. And then we have something called as light pens. Light pens are pencil-shaped devices used to select positions by detecting the light coming from points on the CRT screen. To select positions in any area with the light pen, we must have some non-zero light intensity emitted from each pixel within that area. Light pens sometimes gives false readings due to background lighting in a given room. Right? They are pencil-shaped devices that is used to select positions by detecting the light coming from certain points on the CRT. They are rarely used nowadays because we rarely use CRTs. Right? So to select any position on a screen area with the light pen, we must have some non-zero light intensity emitted from each pixel within that particular area. And lastly, we have something called as a voice systems. The speech recognizers are used with some graphics workstations as input devices for voice commands. The voice system input can be used to initiate operations or to enter the data. A dictionary is set up by speaking command words several times. Then the system analyzes each word and matches with the voice command to match the pattern. So voice system uses a dictionary which is set up by speaking command words several times. Then the system analyzes each word and matches with the voice command to match the given pattern. So this is the list of all the input devices that will be used by the graphics workstations. Now let us see what we mean by graphics networks. So far we have mainly considered graphics applications on an isolated system with a single user. Now the multi-user environments and the computer networks are now common elements in many graphic applications. So various resources such as processors, printers and plotters and the data files can be distributed on the network and shared by multiple users. A graphic monitor on the network is generally referred to as a graphics server. The computer on the network that is executing a graphics application is called as a graphics client. A graphics monitor on a network is generally referred to as the graphics processor. The computer on the network that is executing a graphics application is called the client. A workstation that includes processors as well as a monitor and input devices can function as both a client and a server. So that is about graphics networks. Right? So multi-environments and computer networks are now multi-user environments and computer networks are now common elements in many graphics applications. So various resources such as processors, printers, plotters and data files can be distributed on a network and shared by multiple users. A graphics monitor on a network is generally referred to as a graphics server, and the computer on the network that is executing the graphics application is called as a client. A workstation that includes the processors as well as the monitor and input devices can function as both a server and a client. Now let us see what are the different types of graphics software. There are two broad classifications of computer graphics software. First one we have is something called as a special purpose packages, and then we have something called as general programming package. Now let us see what do we mean by special purpose packages. Special purpose packages are designed for non-programmers, for laymen. Right? Special purpose graphics packages are designed to be used by non-programmers. Examples for these special purpose graphics packages include general pictures, graphs, charts, painting programs or CAD systems in some application area without worrying about the graphics procedure. So these special purpose packages are the packages that are designed for non-programmers. Any user without any knowledge of the programming can use these special purpose graphics packages. Example for these special purpose packages include painting applications, graphs, charts, general pictures, or CAD packages or CAD systems in some application area without worrying about the graphics programming. That is the special purpose packages. The second category of graphics software we have is something called as general programming packages. General programming package provides a library of graphics functions that can be used in a programming language such as C, C++, Java, or Fortran. General programming package provides library of functions, a library of graphic functions that can be used in a programming language such as C, C++, Java, or Fortran. This general programming packages requires that the user have some basic programming knowledge. It provides a library of graphic functions that can be used in a programming language such as C, C++, Java, and Fortran. Examples of this general programming package includes graphics library, we call it as GL, the OpenGL, VRML, which stands for Virtual Reality Modeling Language, Java 2D, and Java 3D. A set of graphics functions is called as Computer Graphics Application Programming Interface, or the CG API. So general programming package provides a library of graphic functions that can be used along with the programming languages such as C, C++, and Java, and so on. The examples for this general programming package includes OpenGL, VRLM, Java 2D, and Java 3D, etc. That is about the graphics software. Now let us see what do we mean by the coordinate representations. Okay, to generate a picture using a programming package, we first need to give the geometric description of the objects that are to be displayed, known as the coordinates. If you want to generate any picture, let us say we want to draw a straight line segment or a straight line, we need to first give the geometric description of that straight line that will be displayed, known as the coordinates. Now to draw any straight line, we need two endpoints. So we need to input these two endpoints, or these two endpoint coordinates. If a coordinate value for a picture are to be given in some other reference frame, they must be converted to a reference frame called as the Cartesian coordinates. Several different Cartesian reference frames are used in the process of constructing and displaying the objects. First, we define the shapes of the individual objects such as trees or furnitures. These reference frames are called as modeling coordinates or the local coordinates. Okay, let us assume I want to draw this triangle. Okay, let us just assume we want to draw this triangle, something like this. So to draw a triangle, what do we need to give as inputs? We need to specify the three vertices of this triangle. Okay, we need to specify the three vertices of the triangle. Okay, so first we define the shapes of the individual objects. These reference frames are called as modeling coordinates or the local coordinates. We need to specify the positions for the three coordinates or three vertices of in order to draw a triangle. These are called as the modeling coordinates. Then we place the objects in appropriate locations within a scene reference frame called as the world coordinates. Now we may want to place this triangle in place in front of some other object, maybe a rectangle or a cube or some other objects. So such coordinates we call it as the world coordinates. Then we place this object, let us say the triangle, in appropriate locations within a scene reference frame called as the world coordinates. First we define the object using modeling coordinates, then we convert it into world coordinates. Okay, in this example we first identify the vertices for drawing this cube and the cylinder, and then we place these cylinder and the cube with respect to each other in a given scene using the coordinate called as the world coordinates. Okay, first we use the modeling coordinates and then we place them in a given scene called as the world coordinates. After all the parts of a scene has been specified, it is processed through various output device reference frame for display. This is called as the viewing pipeline. See, all these objects should be displayed on a given output device, right? So for this, the definitions of the scene should be processed through output device reference frame called as a viewing pipeline. The scene is then normalized, is then stored in the form of normalized coordinates. Okay. First we have the modeling coordinates, the world coordinates, then we will be using the projection and the viewing coordinates, and then all this coordinate value will be converted to normalized coordinates, maybe normalized from -1 to +1 or from 0 to 1. Normalized coordinates are also called as normalized device coordinates. See, we may have initial values for the coordinates, maybe say from 0 to 1000 or 0 to 2000. This has to be brought down or normalized to 0 to 1. So remember, initially we are going to represent the coordinates using the modeling coordinates. That is what is represented here. M represents modeling. So all the coordinates for the different objects that we are going to draw, we are going to specify it in the modeling coordinates, which will then be converted into the world coordinates, where the device, where different objects will be placed in a given scene. So then we convert it into world coordinates. W stands for world. Then these coordinates are converted to something called as the viewing coordinates. Okay, they are passed through the different viewing pipeline for a given output device. So the world coordinates will be then converted into viewing coordinates, and then we have the projection coordinates, how these different objects should be projected onto the screen. That is, for that we have one more set of coordinates called as a projection coordinates. P stands for projection coordinates, which in turn will be converted to normalized coordinates. N represents normalized device coordinates, normalized coordinates. And once the coordinates are normalized, the coordinate system for display devices are generally called as device coordinates or the screen coordinates. So ultimately, even if it is a 3D object, we need to draw it on a 2D screen. So we ignore the Z coordinate. The normalized device coordinates will be converted to device coordinates. D stands for device coordinates. So very important. So remember, so the coordinates from the modeling scene, or the modeling coordinates, will be converted to world coordinates, which in turn will be converted to viewing coordinates, and then they will be converted to the projection coordinates. Then these coordinates will be converted to normalized coordinates, and ultimately these coordinates will be converted to device coordinates, and then the object will be drawn onto the screen. So what we need to note here is that the geometric descriptions in modeling coordinates and the world coordinates can be given in floating point or integer values. The values for this x, y and z can be either given in floating point numbers or integer values as well. Okay. So this diagram here, it briefly illustrates the sequence of coordinate transformations from modeling coordinates to the device coordinates. Okay. Initially we specify the objects in terms of modeling coordinates, which in turn will be converted to world coordinates, and then into the viewing coordinates, and then into the projection coordinates. Then we are going to normalize these coordinates into normalized coordinates, and ultimately these will be converted to the device coordinates and displayed onto the display device or the output device. So these are the different coordinates, different types of coordinates we'll be using in order to draw a given object onto the screen. Now let us see what are the different graphics functions that we have here. Okay, we have a bunch of different graphics functions. So a general purpose graphics package provides users with a variety of functions for creating and manipulating pictures. These routines can be categorized according to whether they deal with output, input, attribute, or other functions. So these are the list of graphics functions that we have. The first type of function we have is something called as a graphic output primitive functions. Let us see what are these graphic output primitive functions. Okay, so graphic output primitive functions. So graphics output primitive functions are the basic building blocks for pictures, which are also called as geometric primitives. Okay, the basic building blocks for pictures are called as geometric primitives. The basic shapes, they include character strings and geometric entities such as points, straight lines, curved lines, fill areas such as polygon, circle, etc., and shapes defined with arrays of color points. Routines are provided for generating output primitives, provide the basic tools for constructing pictures. So most of the graphics packages, they provide us with the graphics primitive functions using which we can define the character strings as well as the basic geometric entities, such as we can draw a point, we can draw a straight line, we can draw the curved lines, we can draw filled areas such as polygon, circle, and shapes with an array of color points. We define these objects using different points positions or different coordinate positions. So that is what we call as the output primitive function, using which we can draw character strings or the basic geometric entities. When we are talking about basic geometric entities, it can be as simple as a point to a complicated polygon or some other shapes defined using arrays of color points. The second type of graphic function that we have here is called as the attribute functions. Let us see what are these attribute functions. Before learning what are these attribute functions, let us see what you mean by attributes. Attributes are the properties of the output primitive. That is, an attribute describes how a particular primitive should be displayed. Let us say the primitive that we want to draw is a straight line. Now, what can be the attribute for this straight line? It can be the color of the straight line. It can be what is the style using which you are going to draw the straight line, whether you are going to draw it as a solid line, whether it is going to be a dotted line, whether it is going to be a dashed line, what should be the thickness of the line, and so on. So these are all the attributes for a given geometric primitive. So attribute functions include color specifications, with what color you want to draw a given object, line styles, different types of line styles, text styles, with what font you want to display a text, with what color you want to display a text, okay, and other area filling patterns, whether we are going to fill a given say a rectangle, whether we are going to fill it with a solid color, whether we are going to fill it with a shaded color, whether we are going to fill it with a given pattern, and so on. All these things are defined using the attribute functions, that is the graphic attribute functions. So primitive functions we specify what should be drawn, whether it is a point, whether it is a triangle, whether it is a straight line segment. Attribute functions specify how it should be drawn, with what color, with what style, and so on. Then a very important category of functions we have is something called as geometric transformation functions. So using these geometric transformation functions, we can change the size, the position, or the orientation of an object within a scene using geometric transformation. Okay, so we can change the size, the position, or the orientation of an object within a scene using the geometric transformation. So let us look at an example. So let me just draw a rough window here. Let us assume this is a window. Okay, let us say on this window I am going to draw a rectangle or a square, something like this. Okay, what are the different geometric transformations we can apply here? So we have functions, geometric transformation function, using which we can change the shape of this particular object. We can increase the shape or we can decrease the shape of this particular object. So we can convert from a small rectangle to a larger rectangle, something like this, using these geometric primitive functions. Okay, so a smaller rectangle you convert into a larger rectangle. Vice versa is also possible. We can also perform the reverse. A large rectangle can be shrunk to a smaller value. This type of geometric transformation we call it as the scaling, which we'll be discussing in the later modules. We can also change the orientation. What do you mean by orientation? We can rotate this rectangle to form something like this, or ignore this. We can draw it something to form kind of a rhombus. I hope you are getting it. So we can rotate it in this particular direction. So that will yield something kind of a rhombus, something like this. Changing the orientation, that is also possible using the geometric transformation function. We can also change the position as well. So rectangle that was drawn over here, that can be drawn here just by calling the geometric transformation function routines. So we can change the position, the size, and the orientation of an object within a given scene using these graphic geometric transformation functions. Then we have something called as modeling transformation functions. So modeling transformation functions are used to construct a scene using the object descriptions given in local coordinates. We can construct a scene using the object descriptions given in local coordinates. Then we have something called as the viewing transformation functions. Let us see what do you mean by viewing transformation functions. Given the primitive and the attribute definition of a picture in the world coordinates, a graphics package provides, or a graphics package projects a selected view of a picture on an output device. Viewing transformation is used to select a view of a scene, the type of projection used, and the location on a video controller where the view is to be displayed. So we can have any objects and we can have different views for a given objects. Okay, we can have the top view, the side view, isometric view, and so on. So all these things can be achieved using the viewing transformation functions. Let me try over here. So let us say I'm going to draw a 3D object, something like this, a kind of a cube. Okay, let us say I'm going to draw an object something like this. Let us assume it's a cube. Okay, it's for the purpose of understanding. So this cube, if I'm viewing it from the front, it may appear as a square. Okay, one view of this cube will yield us a square. So some other view, we can observe all the three faces. It's called as isometric view or isometric projection. And then we can have two-sided view and maybe the back face view or the sideways view and so on. So all these views is specified, and the projection is specified using the viewing transformation functions. Okay, I can have a cube, we can view three faces of a cube, or we can view only one face of a cube. We can achieve that by using different viewing transformation functions or by applying different viewing transformation functions. So other routines are available in this viewing transformation functions for managing the screen display area. So on a screen, which area should be selected for displaying something. So we can specify the position of the screen area, the size, and the structure. For 3D scenes, visible objects are identified and the lighting conditions are also applied. We can also apply the different lighting effects, ambient light, and so on. So that is the viewing transformation functions. And then we have the input functions. The next category of functions that we have is the input functions. So interactive graphic applications use various kinds of input devices such as a mouse, tablet, or a joystick. Input functions are used to control and process the data flow from these interactive devices. So we can control. So when I click a button on a mouse, how should the graphics on your screen change? That is controlled using these input functions. Or how should you handle the event from an input device? That is handled by these, or that is managed by these input functions. Okay, maybe the keyboard, maybe the mouse, or some other input device. How can we control the graphics on a scene, or how can we interact with the graphics on a scene? That is achieved using these input functions. And lastly, we have something called as the control functions. A graphics package contains a number of housekeeping tasks such as clearing the screen display area to a selected color and initializing parameters. We can lump the functions for carrying these tasks under a heading called as control function. Displaying the screen area, selecting the type of buffer, clearing the buffer, selecting the type of buffers, whether we want double buffer, single buffer. All these things are controlled using a bunch of functions called as the control operations. Initializing a bunch of values. All these things are achieved using the set of functions called as the control functions. Okay, so these are all the different types of function, the graphics function that we can use. So graphics output primitive function which specifies what needs to be drawn. Attribute function specifies how these objects needs to be drawn. Geometric transformation specifies how we can manipulate, maybe change the orientation of these objects, change the position or the size of these objects, is specified using the geometric transformation functions. Then we have the modeling transformation functions which are used to construct the scene using the object descriptions in the local coordinates. And then we have the viewing transformation function which specifies how to view a given object onto a screen and how to display it on a screen. If I draw a cube, how to view a cube, whether we need to view the cube so that we can view only one face of a cube, or whether we are going to view the cube where more than one faces of a cube can be visible. That is the viewing transformation function. And then we have the input function which specifies how the event from an input device should be handled to control the graphics on the scene. For example, if I click on a mouse button or a keyboard button, keyboard key, how should the graphics react? So that is handled by the input functions. And lastly, we have the control functions which is used for performing a number of housekeeping tasks, as we can call them, such as clearing the screen display area, initializing a bunch of parameters, selecting the type of buffers, and so on. So we can specify all these functions under a generic name called as the control function. So these are all the graphics functions that are available. Let us move to the last part of this video session, that is software standards. So what are software standards? So any programming language you take, there has to be certain standards, okay, for the purpose of common approach that is used to drawing the graphics. The primary goal of standardized graphics is portability. So one type of graphics program that was written on one system should work on other systems as well. This is only possible if you have software standards. In 1984, Graphics Kernel System, or the GKS was adopted as the first graphics software standard by the ISO, or the International Standards Organization. Second software standard to be developed and approved by the Standards Organization was the PHIGS, or the Programmer's Hierarchical Interactive Graphics System. Extension of this PHIGS was FIGS Plus, was developed to provide 3D surface rendering capabilities that was not available in the earlier version of FIGS. The graphics workstations from Silicon Graphics Incorporation, or the SGI, came up with a set of routines called as the GL, or the graphics library. These are all the software standards that were developed. So we have other graphics packages as well. So many other graphics programming libraries have been developed for general graphic routines, and some are specifically aimed at specific applications, such as specific graphic packages for animation, specific graphic packages for virtual reality, and so on. For example, Open Inventor virtual reality modeling language, or the VRML, is used for specifically for virtual reality. Okay, we can create 2D scenes using Java applets as well, using Java applets, Java 2D or Java 3D. Remember, the basic purpose of software standards is for portability. So with this, let us conclude this video session. In this video session, we discuss what we mean by the graphics workstations. So what are the different input devices? Okay, we discussed the different what do you mean by graphics networks. We discussed what are the different types of software. We discussed what are coordinate representations, types of graphics function, the different software standards, and what was the need for these software standards. With this, let us conclude this video session. Thank you.